Hi there, and welcome to this Wheel and Anchor webinar about our Sicily sojourn. I'm so excited to take you through what I think is one of the most evocative, beautiful, and complex regions in all of Europe. Sicily isn't just another Italian destination, it's actually a mosaic of cultures, stories, and landscapes. This trip is all about slowing down and letting the island reveal itself to us. Over the course of 16 days, we'll stay in three distinctive locations: Ortigia, part of Syracuse in the east of the island, Trapani in the far west, and Cefalù on the north coast of the island. Rather than rushing around to see everything, we'll settle in and soak it all up. It's about walking the same streets more than once, watching what changes, hearing the stories that shape this island, and of course, enjoying meals that have been made the same way for generations. Now, for those of you who've participated in many of our webinars, you're welcome to skip ahead to the map and detailed day by day itinerary. If you look just below this video in the description, you'll find the time markers for easy navigation to those sections of the webinar. But if you're new to us, I encourage you to watch the next couple of slides as I explain a little bit about what we're all about here at Wheel and Anchor. At Wheel and Anchor, we're more than just a travel company. You see, we're a community of like minded Canadian explorers, and the thing that we all have in common is our desire to seek out experiences that go beyond the traditional tourist tracks. But don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with visiting the most popular tourist destination. They're obviously popular for a reason and certainly worth seeing. But for us, we look to create experiences that combine the most important touristic highlights with elements that are lesser known, take a deeper dive into local culture, and allow you plenty of free time, which means that you can go out and discover on your own. But more important than all of that is the camaraderie that comes from traveling with fellow Canadians and friends, people like you who share the same love for adventure, culture, and exploration. If you value that sense of connection, the opportunity to share experiences, and the freedom to explore at your own pace, then you've definitely come to the right place. We have two key goals for all of our members: to be both well traveled and well connected. And I know you may already be well traveled, but when we say well traveled, we're not talking about ticking off destinations off a bucket list. But of course, having one is certainly fun, and most travelers have one. But what we mean is that we want you to stay curious, adventurous, and open to shifting your perspective as we explore new places together. This is how travel has the power to change the way that we see the world. At the same time, being well connected is just as important for us. It's about forging friendships that last long after the trip ends. It's about building a community of fellow travel enthusiasts who share stories, trips, and dreams for future adventures together. Throughout this trip, you'll have plenty of opportunities to connect not just with your fellow travelers, but also with the people that we meet in Sicily and the wonderful culture that it offers. I just want to say a couple more things before we delve into the details of this program. And I, first of all, want to tell you a little bit about who we are and who are the people behind Wheel and Anchor. Let's start with myself. I'm Gordon Drager. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor, and I curate all of the trips that we have on offer here. I've been working in and around the travel industry for about 35 years, and I've organized trips for Canadians to just about all parts of the globe. But I couldn't obviously pull off all these amazing missions and visions I've talked about without an incredible team of people, all of whom are dedicated to ensuring that we deliver some of the best experiences out there. The person who's most important for you, though, is our lead trip specialist, Paula Zarnik. You can see a picture of her here. She is the person who, when you contact our office, when you drop us an email or give us a call, will be there to answer your questions and make sure you have all of the information that you need to decide whether you wish to join us on this trip or any of the ones that we offer. My plan for this webinar is pretty straightforward. As with all of our webinars, I'm going to be your virtual guide. I'm going to take you on a little journey around Sicily and share what you can expect from this incredible trip. I'll start off explaining exactly what a Sojourn trip is, and then I'll take you to the map to show you where we're going, and that'll walk you to the highlights of each day of this trip. You might not be familiar with the term sojourn as it relates to how we define this kind of trip at Wheel and Anchor. These journeys are designed for travelers who value immersion but prefer a more balanced pace. Contrast this with our liveaways, which involve 2 to 4 week long stays more or less in one place, or our experiential trips, which prioritize more rapid activity focused itineraries. Sojourns focus on 4 or 5 nights at each stop, which allows for meaningful engagement without the logistic intensity of longer stays. A sojourn combines curated group activities like guided historical walks, cooking classes, with unstructured time to explore independently. Imagine mornings visiting a local artisan workshop, followed by an afternoon to wander the cobblestone streets or relax at a cafe or maybe even catch a local show. As with all of our trips, we handle all of the key logistics like accommodation, selected dining experiences, as well as the expert led excursions, but it leaves you plenty of time for personal discovery. These trips suit best those who want to avoid constant packing and unpacking or rushed sightseeing. The slower rhythm fosters connections with both locals and landscapes and offers a middle ground between brief tours and extended stays. Ultimately, sojourns are about savoring a destination's essence, not just checking off the landmarks. Sicily, as you probably know, is the soccer ball to Italy's boot, euphemistically speaking, of course. And this is going to be a 16-day journey into the heart of the island where cultures collide, time slows down, and every stone has a story to tell. We're going to start off in Ortigia, the ancient island core of the bigger city of Syracuse. It's compact, deeply historic, and entirely walkable. Here we're going to find Baroque facades that overlook the sea, Greek amphitheaters, and vibrant food markets. We'll have plenty of time to sip wine in sunlit piazzas, explore ruins older than Rome, and settle into the slow rhythm of island life. From there, we cross the island over to the western coast and arrive in Trapani, a cute port city that has an old town with a kind of faded elegance. From here, we'll explore salt flats, sail out to the Aegean Islands by private boat, and visit the hilltop town of Erice, where the pastry shops and panoramic views are simply hard to beat. Our final stop will be Cefalù, a picture postcard coastal town with a huge long sandy beach, a towering Norman cathedral, and medieval streets strung out with laundry, just like you can expect in Italy. From Cefalù, we'll journey up into the Madoni Mountains, discover the flavors of Palermo on a guided food tour, and still have plenty of time to simply wander, reflect, and soak it all in. Rather than rushing through every corner of Sicily, we'll spend 5 nights at each of these stops, giving you time to settle in, explore deeply, and feel the soul of each place. This isn't about doing Sicily, it's about feeling it. So let me now dive into the details of our 16-day itinerary across Sicily. Our journey will actually begin in Catania, which is the second largest city in Sicily and has a large international airport that can be accessed from the major hubs of Europe. From there, driving about an hour, we'll pass in the shadow of Mount Etna and make our way to Syracuse, and more specifically Ortigia, an island within an island and the ancient soul of this larger city. It's not big, it's just a stone's throw across, but Ortigia feels expansive in atmosphere. It's a labyrinth of cobbled lanes, flickering lanterns, and crumbling Baroque facades. It's the kind of place that invites wandering around, and there'll be certainly plenty of time to do that. You'll see balconies strung with laundry, piazzas that glow in the late afternoon light, and the sea shimmering at the end of nearly every street. We'll have the rest of the day to settle in, relax, find a spot along the Western Promenade, maybe order a glass of local wine, and let the island welcome you in its own time. We'll have dinner at our own leisure, but with so many inviting trattorias and seafood spots just steps away from our hotel, you certainly won't have to look far. While in Ortigia, we're actually going to be staying right down in the heart of the old city, in a historical part of town, which was actually the ancient Jewish quarter called Judecca. Across the street, there was a Jewish purification bath, which goes all the way back to the 15th century BC that we can visit. The hotel itself is two historic Baroque palaces that have been put together. The area has all kinds of shops, restaurants right around it, and it's just a stone's throw from the rather spectacular cliff of Ortigia. All the suites at the Laterne Magice are apartment style, so you've got a separate sitting area from the bedroom. They're really tastefully designed. That's why I love the Italians for how they have such a flair for combining sort of a contemporary feel, but at the same time retaining that historic charm from a building like this. They've got all the amenities that you could expect to have. Most of the suites have little kitchenettes in them, so you can warm up a little food in case you get too much pasta for dinner. And most importantly, in the area around you, there's a whole variety of shops and cafes and restaurants. It's really the perfect setup. And I was so delighted when I found this accommodation on my first visit to Ortigia some years ago. There are three different types of apartments here. There's a deluxe, and then a sea view standard and deluxe, and they all range from about 38 to 42 meters. So there's quite a lot of space, and it's a nice way you can sort of spread out for the 5 nights that we'll be staying here in Ortigia. For our first full day in town, we're going to be taking it a bit slower and going on a bit of an orientation trip, as is typical with these kinds of slower paced trips. On our walk around, we'll find some of the best spots to get coffee, where you can stroll around in the morning to catch the morning light, which is really a beautiful time to wander around a small town like this and watch all the locals gathering around on their daily routines. We'll get a sense of the layout. It is a bit of a labyrinth, but that's kind of what makes it exciting. So when you first walk around, you might get lost, but that's the beauty of this town. You can't get too far lost. It's an island at the end of the day. So if you run into water, you know you have to sort of turn back the other way. We'll then cross the bridge over to the mainland and take a little walk back in history over 2,000 years to the ancient city of Syracuse, which at one time actually rivaled Athens, and it was one of the most powerful cities in the Greek world. We'll visit the Neapolis Archaeological Park and see the remnants of the legacy there, which was primarily comprised of this giant Greek theater, which was carved right into the hillside, and they still use it for performances today. We'll also see the latomi, which is the stone quarries that where they extracted a lot of the stone for the amphitheater, and it was also used as a place for the prisoners of wars. The ruins aren't just impressive; they really speak to the ambition, the ritual, and the importance of Sicily as a central spot in the Mediterranean. So after all of that, walking around, orienting ourselves, visiting the antiquities. We'll have time in the afternoon to just soak it all in. And again, this is a place that is, I think, designed for sitting back over a coffee or a glass of wine and just letting this amazing town descend upon you. Our next excursion on our following day will take us out to see two of the most beautiful Baroque cities, not only in Sicily, but anywhere in Italy. We have to walk through Ortigia to get across the bridge because they actually don't allow many buses in town. When you'll see how narrow the alleyways are, you'll understand. But that again adds to the charm of the place. And we'll head up first of all to Ragusa Ibla, which is the more intimate and older side of a city that is split in two. It sits up on a ridge on the Himalayan hills, and it's actually been continuously inhabited all the way since the Bronze Age. A lot of what you see today was rebuilt after a devastating earthquake back in the late 17th century. The town is layered with history, given its history back to the Bronze Age. You see the Baroque churches, the winding staircases, all these beautiful gardens and alleyways that all of a sudden open up to sweet views of the surrounding countryside. There's 50 churches here in this town. And so it lends itself to this sense of calm and peace that feels almost theatrical. You can imagine they use this town a lot for filming. From here, we'll continue on to Noto, which is often referred to as the capital of Sicilian Baroque. It was rebuilt after the same earthquake that I've just talked about in Ragusa. And this town is really was envisioned in this honey-colored stone with facades that seem to glow in the afternoon sun, and we'll hopefully be there late enough to really get that feeling. The streets were designed in straight lines to bring in both light and air, and if you consider that was a pretty modern idea back in the 18th century. You'll see scenes here, the White Lotus. which of course was primarily filmed around Taormina, where we'll also visit. But it's the Prince Nicolaci Palace with its incredibly intricately designed balconies that really steals the show of the day. We'll have a cheese focused lunch. This region is known for ricotta, pecorino, caciocavallo. The tradition of cheese making in Sicily is deep, and so really getting a taste of that is an important part of our adventure. On our exploration today, we're going to head back up northeast, so in the direction of the airport where we came from, to take in the town of Taormina and the city of Catania. We'll drive to our furthest point of the day's excursion to Taormina, which sits high up on a hill looking out over the Ionian Sea, and it's often referred to as the Pearl of the Mediterranean. There was, for about 2 centuries, it's been a magnet for artists, writers, and romantics like D.H. Lawrence lived there. Wolfgang Goethe, the German author, called it a strip of paradise. And today it's probably the most touristy town in all of Sicily, which is part of the reason that we don't actually stay there, although it's amazing to visit. And of course, the other claim to fame of Taormina these days is the fact that The White Lotus was filmed there in its second season. We'll take a wander along Corso Umberto, the main thoroughfare with the beautiful balconies and the art and shops and the hidden courtyards. We'll stop for a granita. And if you haven't had one of those before, this is one of these delicious treats in Sicily. It's a semi-frozen sort of beverage that is a little more elegant than a slushy. They've got whipped cream on top and usually served with a tasty and buttery brioche. Delish. Then we'll head on to the Greek Roman Theater, which is the historic jewel of Taormina. You can see it pictured here. It was built back in the 3rd century BC. And again, they still use these ancient ruins today. It's got one of the most amazing views, not just in town, but in that whole stretch of coastline. You've got Mount Etna out in the background, and of course, the views over the sea as well. You'll see as well, of course, because it's the scene of White Lotus, and this is such a hot topic these days, the San Domenico Palace Hotel, which was the set for much of the film. But before it was on TV, it was actually a 14th century convent that was later turned into a grand hotel. The guest book has it's like a who's who of the 20th century artists and creatives who came through town. In the afternoon, we'll head down to Catania. And again, this is the city where the airport is that we arrived in. And we'll see how this city was shaped by fire and stone. It was all built out of black lava rock. So it has that sort of foreboding, dark feeling to it. But it has an incredible energy. We'll visit the Piazza del Duomo, the cathedral square, and they have this amazing elephant fountain that sits out in front of it. We'll visit the Roman ruins that are all around the city. It'll remind you a little bit of Rome. And we'll also see the Orsino Castle that was once next to the sea, but because of an eruption of the volcano back in the late 17th century, it changed the whole topography of the city. It's a long day that we're going to spend today, but we're going to see some incredible vistas, some beautiful towns and cities, and it'll give us a really a much greater sense of the complexity of the island of Sicily. On today's excursion, we're going to head out away from the towns and cities and head out to the beautiful countryside. Our destination today is going to be the Pantalica Nature Reserve, and after we leave Ortigia, we'll head inland toward the valley of the Anapo, where there's this amazing limestone plateau that rises above the river valley, and it actually has one of the most interesting archaeological sites on the whole island. This is Pantalica, and again, you can get a sense of it here. It's a remote and hauntingly beautiful place. There are 5,000 rock-cut tombs, some of them going all the way back to the 13th century BC. The tombs were hollowed directly into the cliffs, and they belonged to the Sicels, one of the island's original peoples. And the presence predates even the Greeks and the Romans, and the plateau is believed to have held their last kingdom before they were absorbed into all these empires that overtook them in time. But Pantalica is more than just a necropolis. It's actually a living landscape full of life and stillness. And the Iblay Mountains are one of the island's most biologically diverse regions. They've got 1,800 different species of plants. There's wild orchids, aromatic herbs, um, and these wild twisting oak trees. We'll see birds of prey that nest up in the cliffs, and the valley at this time of the year when we often travel, which is spring, is filled with the smell of various wildflowers and thyme and other herbs. We'll also walk past these prehistoric cave dwellings, hidden Byzantine chapels that are carved right into the rock, and also the ruins of Anakteron, which was a mysterious megalithic structure that was thought to be some kind of a royal palace, a sanctuary. They're not actually sure. This is a bit of a slower kind of a day, again, out in nature, walking, listening, tuning into the deeper layers of Sicily's past. So, having gotten a wonderful sense of the east side of Sicily, we're now going to cross all the way across to the very west side of the island towards Trapani. The drive across the island would otherwise be a bit long were it not for a stop at perhaps one of the most important spots in all of Sicily, Agrigento, which is home to the legendary Valley of the Temples. This is perhaps a highlight of the trip. I know there's so many highlights on this trip, it's hard to say, because it is one of the great classical sites of the ancient world. It sits up on a ridge, looks out over the Mediterranean, and the ruins here go all the way back to the 5th century. 5th century BC, that is. So you'll walk all around amongst the 7 Greek temples. The Doric columns still stand tall, and when the light shines on them, it just creates this incredible atmosphere. In particular, we'll see the Temple of Concordia, which is one of the best preserved ancient Greek temples anywhere, including even in Greece. The whole place sort of invites you to just wander around, walking amongst the olive groves and the almond trees. It's kind of the place where you just imagine the ancient world still humming beneath your feet. So we'll have plenty of time. And for me, the experience is like that in Pompeii or in the pyramids of Giza. You can't help but be taken in by what life was like back in its heyday. Later on that afternoon, we'll continue on to Trapani, which is a seaside town where the land sort of rolled right into the sea. And here again, like so many spots in Sicily, you've got the influence of the Phoenicians, the Arabs, the Normans, the Spaniards. We're going to be staying right in the historic heart of the city. This neighborhood has like most of the stops, cobblestone lanes, soft Baroque facades, and the echo of seagulls gives it an amazing charm. You're never too far from the water in Trapani. There's always a delicious Italian Sicilian treat around the corner. So you'll certainly find a spot, given that we're now on the west coast, to enjoy a sunset aperitivo. We'll be staying at Badia Nuova, which used to be a residence of the nobility, and they've turned it into this charming and very welcoming boutique hotel. It's got a gourmet restaurant and this amazing rooftop lounge bar that is full of Sicilian style and charm. We're going to be situated right in the pedestrian area of the city, which is a great spot to explore around. You're a few steps away from the major historical monuments, as well as the sea called Mura di Tramontana. This is the boarding part to get out to the Aegean Islands that we're beheading while we're here. And so access to really everything that's of importance is only a few steps away. Once again, the design of the guest rooms here is just absolutely sublime. I'm always taken away by how charming these spots are. We've got different types of accommodation. We've got 1 bedroom apartments. We've got suites that have a balcony or a terrace, and we've even got larger suites up to 2 bedrooms available. And they all start at around 50 square meters, so they're quite sizable, and they have all the amenities that you could expect. They don't have kitchenettes in them as we did in Ortigia, but I think you'll find lots of tasty treats in the immediate area, so you don't have to worry about doing any cooking. So we're going to start off with our usual little orientation walk around town, but you'll immediately get the sense that this is a place that you is not just a stop on the tour, but somewhere you could actually maybe even hang out for a while. We'll be strolling primarily around the area where our hotel is located. We'll make sure we find out where the best espresso bar is, or the pharmacy, or maybe most importantly, by this point in the trip, where you can get some laundry done. And this is part of what, on these kinds of trips, turns our tour into the feeling that it's more of a, well, almost like one of our live away tours, even though we're only here for 5 nights. But then we're going to focus on Trapani itself, which is a town that, as I said at the introduction, it stretches out into the sea, kind of like a sickle. There's water on almost every side. The historic core is very compact and walkable and has lots of little surprises in it. Among the stops we'll visit on our morning orientation will be the San Lorenzo Cathedral, which is another beautiful Baroque gem with really an understated grandeur to it all. And we'll also wind our way through the various medieval streets. One of the most important things to see will be the lively fish market, where the fishermen haul in the catch every day, and the vendors are screaming out the prices. And you'll see all kinds of the freshest seafood, the octopus, the swordfish, sardines, which are famous in this part of the Mediterranean. This is where the rhythm of the city is really always on full display. Later that afternoon, we're going to head out to one of the most photogenic landscapes around town, the salt pans. These are shimmering flat pans where they used to harvest salt and still harvest salt to some extent since the 15th century. They're often tinged in shades of pink and white, depends on the time of year. And in the background, you'll see these ancient windmills that are kind of a reminiscent of the ancient techniques that are still somewhat in use today. We'll walk through one of these active salt pans. They've got a great salt museum there. We'll taste some of the different salts. They've got everything from those coarse sea crystals, that sea salt that we're so familiar with, down to the fleur de sel, which is the prized for its particularly subtle crunchiness and richness. Um, it's quite a sensory experience, particularly if you've never done a salt tasting before. And I can guarantee you a few packs of salt will find their way back into your suitcase. Today's adventure will take us out on a boat trip to the picturesque Aegean Islands. We'll head over to the pier and get on a kind of a Zodiac like boat and go out for a full day excursion, which is going to feel a little bit more like escaping with a local on their private boat rather than a package tour. That's the way we like it. Our first stop will be Favignana, which is the largest of the Aegean archipelago, and it used to be the heart of Sicily's tuna fishing industry. As we circle around the island, we'll stop at some of its most beautiful coves, Cala Azzurra, Bue Marino, and the famous Cala Rossa, where the sea just seems to glow from within. The clarity of the water is remarkable. It shifts sort of between these turquoise and sapphire colors, and the cliffs, which are shaped from these ancient turf quarries, add quite a dramatic edge to the serenity of the whole place. We'll have time for swimming, snorkeling, or just soaking it all in from on deck of our little boat. Around the middle of the day, we'll stop in at Favignana's harbor. We'll have time to wander around the island streets and enjoy a lunch that'll be part of the program today. Probably there'll be some beautiful views of the sea and this great scent of citrus, capers, just a reminder of where you actually are. In the afternoon, we'll head to the next island, Levanzo, which is actually the smallest of the inhabited Aegean islands. It feels almost like it's untouched, with its rugged cliffs and its hidden coves like Calafrida and Calaminola, and there is not a traffic light in sight. This is where we know when we've achieved paradise. If the sea allows, our captain will take us around through the Cave of Lovers, which is a grotto that is illuminated only by flashlight. It's quite a romantic and mysterious stop that not many people get to experience. Throughout the day, our skippers will share with us stories of these islands, from the naval battles of ancient Rome to the rise of the Florio family, who turned the fishing industry, the tuna fishing industry, into quite an empire. You'll also get to see Formica, which is a small little island with a fortress that once served as a prison, and we'll hear how the waters turned into what is today one of the largest marine reserves in Europe. On our way back to Trapani, we'll have a little aperitif on board and make a toast to what will be one of the most beautiful days of our trip through Sicily. On this excursion today, we'll leave the sea behind and head up into the hills, our destination being the hilltop town of Erice. We'll pray for good weather that will allow us to take the cable car up from Trapani up to the top of the mountain. It's a beautiful view. It is affected by the winds that often come in off the sea, and we'll have be able to see across the salt flats to Marsala and the white beaches of San Vito lo Capo. But otherwise, if the weather doesn't allow us to take the cable car, we'll head up there by coach, and we'll pass through some lovely olive groves and stone terraces until we reach Ericeveta, which is the town at the summit of it all. And once we get inside the old walls, we'll have to walk around on foot. People have been doing this, of course, for centuries. It's a whole labyrinth of cobblestone alleys, medieval arches, and secret courtyards. And there's some amazing views out over the Tyrrhenian Sea and this whole surrounding countryside. The town was founded by the Elymians and later was taken over by the Phoenicians and then the Greeks and the Normans, just like Trapani. The village has really been represented many things to the many different peoples who passed through. We'll visit, of course, the Cathedral of Erice, which was built back in the 14th century from stone that was quarried out of the mountains nearby. And for those that wish, we'll have a chance to climb up the amazing bell tower, which will give us a bird's eye view of the rooftops of the town. We'll also get a chance to appreciate the loom weaving. Here is where they make Erice carpets, which is a tradition that has been passed down over generations. And they also have, like many parts of Sicily, but some unique and hand-painted ceramics that have the iconic colors of the island, the yellows, the ocean blues, the deep terracotta reds. And once we've had a chance to do some of that sightseeing, we'll try the signature pastry of Erice, which is called the Genovese, which is a sort of this dome of pastry that's filled with a warm custard and dusted with powdered sugar. I mean, it's reminiscent of some of the donuts we have back at home, but let's face it, we're in Italy, so I think they're a heck of a lot better. We'll pass through the Spanish Quarter, which used to house troops during the Spanish rule, and then also visit the Pepoli Tower and the normal castle ruins, that are perched at the edge of the cliffs of town. There's a legend that the ancient Temple of Venus once stood here, which is where sailors would light fires to guide the ships in from sea. I should point out that the terrain is quite hilly and cobbled, so it's important to have good shoes on this day. There's quite a bit of walking around because, of course, a lot of it's car-free, but it will be definitely worth the effort. Today's visit will take us out to Marsala, and of course, you've heard of it before, Marsala wine. But much like Madeira wine or maybe port wine, although the latter is much better known, we don't often know a lot about what Marsala is all about or where it comes from. So today, we'll certainly find out. We'll start out with a guided walking tour through Marsala's elegant historic center. Unlike some of the other louder and more crowded cities in Sicily, Marsala has kind of a calm and refined character. It's got these wide stone avenues and quiet piazzas that tell stories that go all the way back to the Carthaginian times. The great general Hannibal once sought refuge here after crossing over the Alps and making his way down to the south, where it was probably warmer, but it was also the landing point for the so-called Garibaldi's red shirts back in 1860, which is a critical point in the unification of Italy. You'll find here this sort of gentle Baroque architecture. The warm stone buildings glow in the sunlight, and life here happens at a very unhurried pace, particularly when you compare it to Palermo or Catania. Locals gather in the piazzas for espresso. The traders set out their baskets of lemons, and the scent in the air is kind of a salty, citrusy fragrance. We'll then head over to one of Marsala's historic wine cellars where the tradition and the craftsmanship run deep. It's more than just a winery, it's kind of like a walk back in time. You'll be wandering around through the oak barrels, some of which have been aging wine literally for decades, and we'll learn about the fortification process, which gives Marsala wine its rich amber depth and its long life. We'll taste wine right out of the cask. Each one tells a bit of a different story. And to complement it all, we'll have some tasty Sicilian bites, maybe olives from the groves nearby, aged cheeses from the interior of the island, and a few sweet surprises as well. The flavors are bold, they're earthy, and they're unmistakably local. After we have the tasting, we'll head back to Trapani, where the rest of the afternoon is ours to explore and wander around the old town. These free times, free moments in our journey are some of the ones where we have the most special memories. We'll wave goodbye to Trapani as we make our way through the beautiful central valleys and mountains that characterize the northern part of the island, which will be our next destination, the town of Cefalù. When we arrive in Cefalù, you're going to be immediately taken back by its stunning beachside setting. But beyond that, the whole town is a place that's quite easily to fall in love with because it's compact, it's sun drenched, and it's unmistakably Sicilian. It's a town where the daily life kind of happens as it does in any other town. Laundry swaying on the balconies, you get the smell of frying sardines, and children are running around chasing soccer balls across stones that have been the pathways for people here for centuries. Above all of it is this Norman cathedral, which is the masterpiece of the town. It was commissioned back in the 12th century by King Roger II. The legend says that he built it in gratitude after having survived a terrible sea journey, which culminated in a shipwreck not far away. It has these soaring towers and Byzantine mosaics, and this golden Christ Pantocrator, which are among the celebrated in all of Sicily. Down below as well, you'll find this medieval lavatoio, which is a communal wash house that is carved right into the rock. And this is where all the people used to come back in the olden days to scrub their clothes and trade stories and gossip using water out of the Cefalino River. And then, of course, there's the beach itself, which our hotel is situated right on. Soft sand, stretches a couple of kilometers long. Beautiful place to soak it all in and enjoy. Our first evening here in Cefalù, we'll gather for a little aperitivo, which of course is a ritual in Sicily. By this point in the trip, we'll have had more than a few. And then we'll share together at a dinner together at a nearby trattoria, which is a perfect ways to ease into the last segment of our trip. We're going to be staying at the Astro Suite Hotel, which is a neat little gem that I found when I was traveling around this area some years back. What I like about it, it has a very different design than what is typical from the area. It's quite modern, and its location is perfect as it's only about a 10-minute walk into the historic old town. All of the rooms have terraces and windows which face right out to the sea, either with a direct or a partial sea view, as you can see here. The rooms are kind of cool. They've all been designed in this vibrant blue color, so it sort of gives you this feeling almost like being on a cruise ship, but with obviously a lot more space and a lot more comfort. Each of the rooms is a one bedroom, so you've got a separate living area with a comfy couch, all the amenities that you need, and the hotel itself has, as you saw from the first picture, a nice outdoor pool. There's a whirlpool as well as a fitness room and a lovely little breakfast area. As always, we're going to start off our visit with a little orientation tour of town. After pointing out where all of the key necessities are, like the local ATM or that espresso bar or the grocery store. They have actually quite a great grocery store just around the corner from the hotel, particularly if you want to pick up a bottle or two of wine to enjoy on the terrace of your room. But after all that, we'll head in to explore the layers of history that make Cefalù more than just a beautiful spot. There's actually few towns in Sicily that have seen as many different rulers and civilizations as has Cefalù. The ancient Greeks, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Saracens, the Normans, again, uh, various peoples that I've mentioned before, but they've all been here and they've all sort of left their own special impression on the town. We'll start off at the Temple of Diana, which is high up on a rocky promontory called La Rocca. And this is a ninth century megalithic structure that is shrouded in all kinds of myths and questions. It was believed to have been dedicated to the worship of water. Its foundations are actually connected to this ancient cistern that was likely built before even the temple itself. Well, of course, visit the cathedral that I talked a little bit about earlier, the one that was commissioned by King Roger after his miraculous voyage that ended there. We'll stop at the lavatoio. Again, that's the wash house that I talked, which is beside a stream, and the the what's interesting about the Lavatoio is the legend that the river was formed by the tears of a nymph who wept endlessly for a lost love. So it's one of these beautiful Italian love stories. Um, Finally, we'll head to La Marina, the fishing port, where we'll see all these brightly colored boats that bob around in the harbor, and we'll get this sense of village life that it's more than just a tourist town. Um, this little part of town, actually, this part of Cefalù, has been featured in all kinds of Italian films, probably none that we'll have seen. But it really captures that essence of the timeless beauty and charm that Cefalù offers. We'll have lunch at a local restaurant, one of my faves. Of course, more fresh seafood will be on the menu, as well as the wines from the local wineries. On today's trip, we'll head over to Palermo, and it's going to be all about the food. But of course, we won't forget Palermo itself. We're going to take this trip by train for a change. It's only about a 50-minute ride from Cefalù station into Palermo Centrale, and rides all along the coast. So there's some great scenery along the way. And we'll be greeted by a city that you'll immediately be struck by its faded grandeur. It won't take long walking along, and we'll see that this is considered one of the street food capitals of the world. They've got these loud, colorful markets with sizzling smells and tastes, and it's really remarkable for that, which is why we decided to make the focus of our tour of Palermo all about the food. We're going to taste some of the classic staples of the Sicilian cuisine: panelle, croce, which is this sandwich of chickpea fritters and potato croquettes. A lot of times you'll see school children or older folk munching on this partway through the day. Of course, arancini, which is those golden balls of deep fried rice that are often filled with ragu or cheese or spinach. So delicious. I can taste it right now. We'll probably also taste agnelletti al forno, which is this ring shaped pasta that's soaked in sauce and layered up in a casserole dish like a lasagna, which is usually a typical Sunday dish in many homes in Palermo. Among my favorites that Sicily is so well known for is Parmigiana di Melanzane. We call it eggplant parmesan, but just like the Italian word is so much more eloquent, the dish itself is as well. And when you have Parmigiana di Melanzane in Sicily, and if you've had it at home before, you might not be able to eat it again at home. I'll be perfectly honest; it's so delicious. And then, of course, there's the sweets. There's the cannoli, which is full of sweet ricotta cheese, the pistachio, chocolate, cassata, and the granita that I talked about before in Ortigia. That's often flavored with lemon or almond or coffee. At the end of the day, you will certainly not need to have dinner by the time you go back home. So we'll get a chance to wander around, sample all these different things, and there'll be plenty of time to explore the city on your own. This is a walking day. We're going to be spending all of our time on foot, but you'll have the opportunity to stay on longer to explore more of the city. They've got a very interesting museum about the history of the mafia that is, of course, a part of Palermo's history as well. And so you can return either all together with the group, or you can stay on a little longer and explore what this such legendary city is all about. One of the things that will differentiate this part of Sicily from what we'll have seen before are this beautiful mountainous backdrop along the seaside. And that's where we're going to be heading on our excursion today, is up to the Madoni Mountains and the town of Castelbuono. The town itself is tucked between chestnut groves and rocky ridges. It's a place where history kind of lives quietly in the details. The town itself grew up around the Ventimiglia Castle, which was a fortified residence that is a combination of sort of Arab Norman architecture with Baroque embellishments that they added on. There's this amazing stucco work by Giacomo Sarpota, who's one of the most celebrated artists in all of Sicily. And we'll also find a chapel that was dedicated to Saint Anne, who was the town's patron saint, and her relics are found in a elaborately designed silver-clad urn, which they walk around the streets during their festivals. We'll also visit the Matrice Vecchia, which is the town's original parish church that was built back in the 14th century. And we'll wander through all the narrow lanes, the wooden doors, the wrought iron balconies. Again, you, yeah, as if you wouldn't have had enough of it by now, you're going to get more of it in this amazing little town of Castelbuono. There's also some great bakeries here. I can remember myself bringing back a huge tin of the famous Castelbuono cookies. Um, the One of the interesting things about this town, or one of the products here that is unique, is the manna, which is not the kind that you might know from the Bible, but it has a sweet resin-like sap that is made out of or made from local ash trees in the latter part of the summer. And Castelbuono has been at the center of manna production in Sicily for literally centuries. You'll find that it's infused into the nougats, liqueurs, and the cookies, like I talked about, which sort of give a unique taste that is reminiscent of the landscape itself. We then head, for my favorite part of the day, to this wonderful wine estate that's not far from town. It used to be part of a Benedictine monastery, and the vineyard produces these delicious and crisp white and earthy red wines that are influenced by this mountainous air and some grape varieties that are native to the region. We'll have a simple seasonal lunch. The food is exquisite. And there'll be a lot of the things that are obviously grown from the region, whether it's the olive oil, the cheeses, or the eggs, which come right from the coop that is on the premises. Um, and after all of that, we'll still have time in the evening to enjoy Cefalù on our own, maybe walking along the Lungomare, the promenade, as the sun descends down over the horizon. It is a beautiful spot for just wandering and again soaking in this atmosphere. On our last day in Sicily, we'll leave you with a whole day at leisure to do whatever it is that will give you the best lasting memories of your experience. After having spent the last 2 weeks exploring and smelling and tasting your way all around Sicily, this is a great chance to just have no agenda, no schedule. You might start off by going to one of the gelaterias and having yet one more Italian gelato, and choosing a flavor that you never had before. You might go for a dip in the beach. Again, this spot is one of the best to enjoy a swim in the Mediterranean. Or you might actually climb up to the top of La Rocca, which is where I took this picture from. It is definitely a bit of a climb, but I tell you, the views are remarkable. And my own experience the last time or second last time was taking a little picnic lunch and enjoying it with this incredible views all up and down the coast. No matter what, you'll probably find something fun and or relaxing to do, and it might just be picking up one more little artisan piece for your souvenirs to bring back home. And we will attend one of my favorite restaurants in all of Sicily in the evening for a farewell dinner at a traditional, elegant restaurant. We'll have a chance to toast the great times that we've had on this trip through Sicily. And it'll be time to say arrivederci, Cecilia, and we'll pick you up, bring you back to the airport in Palermo for your onward trip elsewhere in Europe or for the journey home. I shared a whole bunch about what this trip through Italy entails, but of course, there's lots more details to be had. And the best way to obtain those is by heading over to our webpage. You'll find the link to it in the description box just below this video on YouTube. And there you can get some more details. But perhaps the most important piece of information is in our trip itinerary. This is a detailed e-brochure, full color e-brochure that will go through this itinerary day by day, cover a lot of what I've said, and then some, as well as the prices, inclusions, and everything else you need to know. Finally, we also provide a trip specific reference guide that's kind of like our FAQ, which gives all of the logistical details that you need to consider joining this trip. And beyond all that, you may very well still have some questions that you'd like to ask, or just need a little convincing as to whether this trip is really for you. And the best way to do that is to give us a call or drop us an email. Paula is your first point of contact, and she'll be happy to discuss with you all about this trip and make sure that it's the right one for you. And if it is, to send you all the forms that you need to be able to join us. Thank you for taking the time and for indulging me and my anecdotes about Sicily. This truly is one of the most interesting parts of Italy. And if it hasn't been on your radar screen or on your bucket list before, I'm hoping that what I've shared with you today will have it find a place there. If you enjoyed this webinar and if you like our webinars in general, you're welcome to subscribe to our YouTube channel every time we post a new webinar video like this about a new trip. Then you'll be alerted and you can tune in, and I'll share with you about another exciting destination we have. So thanks again, and I hope that you'll consider joining us on this trip and perhaps coming out to see us at one of our summer social events, if it is in fact summer. And otherwise, in the meantime, I wish you happy travels.